I hadn't talked to him. And, I had kind of said like, what's up with New Japan? Because, the last kind of iteration, usually with Chris's plans, it's like there's usually 3 people that know what Chris is doing. Chris, Barry Bloom, Mr. Barry, as I call him affectionately on New Japan, and myself. And that's just kind of the close circle. And, it's not that sometimes I'm asked for advice. Other times I'm just told what's happening or whatever. So I had not heard anything. And then all of a sudden I'm in Fukuoka and, the usual people in the office who are sort of in the know, but not really, are asking me like, well, where's Jericho? Like, no, he's coming. Are you going out with Jericho tonight? I'm like, what are you guys talking about? And then I look, someone tweets at me and says, look what it's reporting on PW Insider and on the Observer. And of course I look and it says Chris Jericho is apparently on his way to Japan for this Wrestling Dontaku card, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, that's weird. Not weird that he didn't tell me, just hadn't been in touch, and it doesn't really matter. But weird because I'm not involved in the angle, but weird that how did this leak? Because Chris's stuff never leaks. So I just thought it was a work because I'm like, if it's leaked, that means he's not coming, right? And then I ended up texting him saying, hey, what's up? Blah, blah, blah. And he was sort of cryptic, like, not kayfabing, but kind of, and I'm like, okay, that must mean he's here. So I'm like, okay, fine. I don't care. So anyway, so now fast forward the first day, great matches, all that stuff in Fukuoka because we had 2 days there. So the first day Jericho's not there. So fine. So I'm like, my schedule there is basically like, cause I still have my Impact job and it's not like when I go to New Japan, I stop working. So my thing was get back to the hotel from the show at 10 o'clock. I slept from 10:30 till, 12:45. So like an hour and 45 minutes. And then I went down to the lobby cause they had this nice business center and I literally set up shop in this empty lobby and worked from 1 a.m. until, and I wanted to 30 in the morning in the lobby. Then I went to sleep for an hour, had breakfast and start again. So it's not glamorous. It's just grinding. So I get up the next morning. I don't know. Everyone's texting me like, where's Jericho? Have you seen Jericho? I'm like, I haven't talked to him and I've been working. So fine. So now, we go to the show. It's the second day of the show. And I wanted to do this interview with, the Gorillas of Destiny, Tama Tonga and Tongaloa. Well, we had to find a quiet place to do it. And my dressing room, which is also the New Japan's world room, is too loud and too busy. So I find this, empty, room with 2 couches in it, which coincidentally I remembered after this was the same room that Jericho used the last time he was there for his dressing room and where he tried to demonstrate the code breaker on me and busted my mouth open. So as I'm sitting there with Tama Tonga and Tongaloa, I'm like, oh, this is the room. So we do this great interview. You'll hear it later in the show. I'm not going to get into detail, but I see a couple of things in this dressing room that lead me to believe that Mr. Jericho is probably making an appearance. So I text him and I say, haha, I'm in your dressing room right now. Don't kayfabe me, haha, whatever, right? So yeah, so now I go call the show, and I don't know for sure what's happening, but Chris and I had a conversation at one point a few months ago about my black mask and about do people wear those things in the crowd, different things. So I mean, I kind of knew that what we ended up seeing, that there was something in his head that went around that. And as he described it, kind of a combination of my idea and something he did with Rey Mysterio. I think it's a lot more like what he did with Rey than but doesn't matter. So now I'm out there calling. I don't clue Kevin in because I actually don't know what to tell Kevin because I don't know what's happening. And I actually don't want to know what's happening. And, so LIJ has a, 8-man match or whatever, and they're always entertaining. And Naito's Naito. He does his thing. He doesn't really sell very much. He's just kind of, he's the ungovernable. He's the wild child guy. And, so as I can see this starting to play out because the other LIJ guys all leave. Naito's in the ring. People are going crazy. They love Naito. And of course, when Naito goes to walk to the back like Tanahashi, everyone rushes the barricade. And so I'm watching this, but from my vantage, I can't really see it. I'm looking at it on the monitor. And all of a sudden I see this fan in a Bushi mask, Mexican sugar skull style mask, and an LIJ sweatshirt, grab, like Naito shakes the guy's hand, but the guy pulls him in and punches him. And then I see this guy, looked like he whacked a fan too. And it turned out that I guess the fan wasn't letting him get where he needed to go. So Chris adjusted. Fan got to be part of the show. Hooray. And, so I just see this guy beating the shit out of Naito and taking him into the ring. And it was great because I don't think the people there really clued in that it was Chris. And Chris, people said, why does he have makeup on? It's like, well, he was kayfabing his white skin because the mask had a mouth hole and et cetera, et cetera. So Chris really, as usual, great attention to detail, attacked Naito, beat Naito senseless, busted him open with a ring bell. And then there's a great video online that you can get, like the post beatdown where Chris is leaving and he's just slapping the piss out of the young boys. He's swearing, he's throwing furniture, he's going after fans. It's tremendous. I mean, if you liked what he did with Omega, you're going to like this as well. So that was like just super cool. And it's like, whoa, I can't believe it. So that was, for me, obviously a highlight because now we're presumably going to get Jericho versus Naito in Osaka at Dominion, which is kind of the second biggest show of the year after the Tokyo Dome. But we also got treated to Will Ospreay versus Kushida, which was a phenomenal match. As you know, those two guys are just maybe the best guys, and along with Hiromu in the junior division. So that was awesome. And then one of the most emotional matches I've had a chance to call was Tanahashi Okada. And if you get a chance, I mean, if you're going to listen to any of my calls, listen to that one because I think it's on a level of the work that we did with Omega and Okada in the draw they had last year that people liked. Tanahashi's just such a great wrestler and such a great seller and storyteller that it was just one of my favorite matches. And sometimes Okada matches are not my favorite matches. He's great, but it's just kind of, I don't know, but it's like, but Tanahashi's just so good. And it was just a great emotional story, you know, and in my heel mode, I think I had a quote, and you can follow them at Don Callis Quotes, on Twitter.